Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to do an install on our 22 Yamaha Raptor 700R. We are going to install the Cuervo Racing early on fan kit. Now this kit also comes with a gauge, which is kind of cool, so you can see the temperature as you're riding. Now not everyone's going to need an early on fan kit. Your factory fan is going to kick on 225, 235 degrees. With this kit, it's going to kick it on a little sooner, about 200. So if you're running like any major engine modifications, you bumped up the horsepower, running some high octane fuel, things like that, that might increase your engine temperature, operating temperature. An early on fan kit could be a good idea, but we do a lot of woods riding and things like that, and I've noticed that as we're riding, just the heat buildup from the machine, it's kind of unbearable sometimes, especially if you got all your gear on. So maybe I was thinking if we kick the fan on a little sooner, get that temperature, get that heat out of the engine a little sooner, might just make the bike run a little better, last a little longer, and maybe keep my inner thighs and calves from burning up so much. So stick around and let's get into the install. All right guys, so we got our package from Cuervo Racing. Let's take a look what we got here. We got a wiring harness, looks very nice. Business card, some zip ties in here. Several zip ties. We got some hose clamps. Looks like a link to Cuervo Racing, or I'm sorry, Cuervo ATV's YouTube channel for some instructions. Some more zip ties here. Throw that bag down. And then we got a padded bag here, which is our micro switch there to turn our fan on. And this is kind of the newest batch of these from Cuervo. It's got a pretty awesome temperature gauge there, water-filled gauge. Has the Cuervo logo inside. On his Facebook page or his eBay store, says these gauges here, everything is USA made, so cannot go wrong with that. The anodizing looks pretty awesome. So let's go ahead and figure out how to get this installed. Maybe we'll watch the video, maybe we'll just wing it. So let's get into it. All right, we're gonna pull some body panels off. We're gonna pull the seat off just to make things a little easier. So let's get busy on this. You never know how dirty it is until you check under the seat. And we're sitting pretty good because I just cleaned this up for the video. So 4mm. As you guessed, we're going to go ahead and just take our tank cover off so we can open up that space for wiring here in a little bit. So the first thing we're going to do is take off our fuel cap. And then we just need a plastic body plug puller here. We'll go ahead and pull these plastic clips out. So now we got both those out. Should be able to get our tank cover off here. So what I'm going to do is, since I know we're going to be cutting our upper radiator hose, I'm going to take this cap off and I'm going to drain some of the coolant out until I see this level here go down significantly. And then I'll know when I cut that upper radiator hose that I'm not going to make it too big of a mess. So I don't know if this is exactly how we want to do it, but we're going to try it this way. All right, we are going to try to do this without making a mess. I've got a clean catch can down there. We're going to use a funnel to try to catch as much of this fluid. Here's our drain plug. It's an 8mm, so we're just going to loosen it up, and we're going to see. Watch this leak out here. Hopefully not make too big of a mess. And like I said, this bike's still basically new. We're going to catch all this fluid and reuse it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go up top. Take a peek, because our upper hose here goes to the top of the radiator. So I want to make sure I get enough drained out that when I cut this upper hose, let me show you here. When we cut this upper hose up here to put our switch in, that we don't make too big of a mess. And as we can see up here, we've drained out probably enough that this hose here, oh, see, I'm squeezing it and it's starting to leak out. So we're gonna let this run a little bit. We'll go ahead and tighten that back down. We'll save this fluid and reuse it. We got some fluid drained out. I feel like this radiator hose is probably not gonna leak a whole bunch when we cut it out. But the next thing we need to decide is where we wanna put this switch. One note, this is supposed to already be tightened and pre-torqued and sealed, and we shouldn't have to mess with this, any of these connections with the switch or with the gauge, but we can put it anywhere in this hose. I'm just gonna kind of put it in a spot where I think I might be able to see it. I'm thinking somewhere in this area right here. So you can use, you know, a razor blade, something like that, but I'm just gonna use a hose cutter here to make that cut. And then we're gonna cut out enough hose that will compensate for that distance right there in the bracket. So it looks like a fuzz over an inch. We don't have to be, you know, exact. This is rubber, so it's gonna move. But there is some wiring behind here that we need to be aware of. So we don't wanna, you know, make sure we're cutting into that. A couple zip ties, and then we'll go from there. Okay, we're gonna do the moment of truth here. I'm gonna throw a rag up in here. We're gonna see how lucky we get. I've got a spot that I'm pretty sure I wanna make this cut. So we're about to find out how big a mess we're gonna make here. So, yeah, got a little bit, not too bad. All right, so you can see we've cut a section of hose out here. Just about the same width as this switch here. The next thing we want to do is we want to orientate the hose clamps so that they're going to be easily accessible. I'm just going to stick them on the bottom of the hose here, just like so. That way we can snug this up. And probably what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go ahead and route the wire up towards the back of the bike, where we're going to have to make some connections, but we'll make this connection, get this put into place, and that way we can just button this up and be done with it. All right, so we got to run our wiring back here. We have a negative battery connection we need to make, and then we have a connection in one of these relays back here. So I'm going to go ahead and pull off the rubber coating or rubber boot here. You can see mine doesn't really fit anyways because I have the FCI intake, but 10 millimeter bolts here in the battery bracket. You're going to need your body tool here to pull off these two body clips to remove the boot. We'll expose everything and then go from there. All right, we're just gonna run these up towards the front here, make the connections on the switch, just get that done out of the way. We'll figure out some clever wiring here, but this is about the general direction I'm gonna go with it. So we got our wiring ran up through here from the back, underneath the seat. I just ran the wire inside the fuel tank, tucked it up behind here. We're gonna put some zip ties on it, but we're gonna go ahead and make these connections to the back of the switch here, and it doesn't matter which way it goes. Just go ahead and put it one on each post, obviously. And I'm going to take some dielectric grease, just kind of put some in there just to protect the connection, especially if you ride these in the woods and stuff and they get wet a lot like mine do. But we're just going to go ahead, plug these in like so. Getting tricky on me here. There we go. We'll get this shoved in the hose, suck up this wire a little bit, put us a zip tie on, put these hose clamps. We should be good to go. All right, we got her all buttoned up right there. Looks really good. The gauge is easy to see. I went ahead and rotated the clamps around to kind of hide the, the fasteners a little bit, but those stainless steel clamps are not going to rust or anything. It's going to look good for a long time. So now let's work on the wiring. We're going to get this antifreeze put back in the radiator. Make sure we don't have any leaks there, but we should be good. All right, so we've got our negative terminal from the wiring harness hooked onto our battery. I went ahead and trimmed some of that out so it wasn't so bunched up and stuff. But now we're going to take this connector here, and we got a relay that we need to pull off the back, and I'll pull that out and I'll show you that as soon as I get it out. Okay, so what we've done is we've pulled out our wiring harness that stuffs back here, and we want this relay that sits basically on this side of this plastic post here. And what we're looking for is this yellow wire right there with the red stripe. And what we're gonna do is plug this connector inside the same terminal with the yellow and red wire. So I'm gonna put some dielectric grease in here and shove that down. I mean, if you wanted to, you could cut that off and, T-nut that into the side of the wire, or if you want to solder it, but I'm fine with just pushing it in there. It's not like it's gonna go anywhere. And we'll use some dielectric grease to protect it. So let's get that done. Use my phone here for some light. Use my phone here to light this up a little bit, but you can see, got that connector inside that relay harness. I went ahead and just used a zip tie to hold everything together. Now we'll go ahead and get everything stuffed back in here. And again, this relay was on the bottom, so I'm gonna make sure I feed all of my wires behind here. And this relay goes in just like so, with this relay on top, and then the rest of the wire harness buttons up there. So I'm gonna work on that, and then we'll come right back. All right, we got everything buttoned back together. Don't see any issues. Everything's tucked away. Zip ties where we can. This main power wire, I'm gonna set my phone down, from the harness runs basically all the way up through here. This is where we're making our negative battery connector. And then the wires go up to the right side of the tank where they're connecting into the switch. All right, we're gonna fire this up, check for any leaks, and then we're gonna see if the fan kicks on, if it'll actually get up to 200 degrees where the fan will kick on. So let's fire it up and see what happens. So you can hear we got over 200 and our fan kicked on, so that's exactly what we're looking to do. Typically this would kick on, around 225, 230, somewhere in there. So it's gonna work out really good. Really happy with the install. All right, guys, there you go. There's the install. That's the Cuervo Racing early on fan kit. Very simple install. Everything you need, all the wiring, zip ties, the whole 9 yards. You're just making a small cut in your upper radiator hose, putting it in, putting a jumper wire into one of your relays in the back, and you're off to the races, literally. So if you guys like these videos, please hit that subscribe button, like, share, all that really helps the channel out, and we appreciate it so much. Coming up, we got some more riding content, some other install videos. Then we're gonna get back to some reloading here this fall once the weather kind of cools down a little bit. But until next time, guys, God bless.